So, with that said, two companies just shook hands, and that handshake is worth more than the entire economy of Japan. One of those companies control the chips that power every single artificial intelligence system on Earth. The other company runs AI for the CIA, the Pentagon, and for the most part, a big chunk of the Fortune 500 companies in the United States. And yesterday, these two companies came together and said, hey, we are joining forces. If you don't understand what this means for the future of technology, you happen to stumble across the right one today. I think this is fundamentally one of the biggest partnerships that we have seen in a really long time. I also think that this partnership is going to absolutely change the entire tech ecosystem. And today we are going to pretty much dive into it. I know there's a lot of fear and excitement around these companies. And what my goal here is to show or talk you through some of the data based on what's happened with these companies, how these sort of partnerships generally play out over, the last 100 years, X, Y, and Z. My goal is not to, pretend that this is going to be all peaches and cream, but we are going to get a peek at what I think will be one of the most valuable partnerships of our generation. I think some people are calling this the beginning of an AI monopoly. Other people are scrambling to try to figure out if they are too late or, have they missed the ball? But what I think everybody is missing is that this partnership does not simply change who wins in AI. It changes who gets to even play the game of AI. So over the next, I'm going to say hour, we're going to dive into it, y'all. I've been trying to adjust my timing because we know that it has never, ever once been 25 minutes. But hey, yeah. With that said, what's good, everybody? This is now the 7th episode of the Benson Report. If you don't know what that is, it's okay. It's only episode 7. The Benson Report is where I come on Tuesdays and Thursdays, every single Tuesday and Thursday. I'm trying to be more consistent at 7:30 Eastern time to really share what's happening in the market, how this is going to impact us all, and then last but not least, and most of all, how we at Benson are profiting off of these situations. My name is Philip Aubrey. I am the host, of course, but I'm also the CEO of Benson AI. For those that are also new here, Benson AI is quite literally an AI investing app. We use AI to do all of the research, buying, selling, monitoring, all for you, all automatically. And then the only thing that you have to do is quite literally open the app once a month to look at our top 10 stocks, approve the ones you like, and we take care of the rest. For the people that are here on TikTok, you'll note that there are half of the people here on TikTok do use the app. So drop your questions in the chat. Somebody here will be able to answer it for you. But I also love this sort of situation because it means you don't got to just take it from me. You can quite literally ask other people in the chat and they will be able to answer some of your questions. Yo, does it actually work? Do we focus on long-term, short-term? Do we do options, X, Y, and Z? Half of the people here are quite literally people that have been on the app for months, if not a year already. So with that said, last order of business before I jump straight into it, there are 3 ways that you can get involved with Benson. I'm going to start with the most important one, which is, of course, you can just go ahead and download the app. That is going to be the best bang for your buck. It is also going to take the most amount of stress off of your plate. The app is going to do all of the buying, selling, researching for you all automatically. The second way is that you can actually just subscribe to the newsletter. If you are on an Android or you are not in the US, you can still get the top 10 stocks. All you have to do is go to meetbenson.com. There will be a pink banner at the top. It'll say newsletter, click it, go from there. And then the last way, and it's probably not the best way, but it is still a tool out there, is that you can also just get some of our old stock ideas. All you do is go to meetbenson.com and we will share about 3, sometimes 5 of our stocks that we think are still exciting, but people on Benson have started to buy those 5, 6 months ago. So that is one other way to get involved. So again, it's 3 ways to get involved. Download the app, which is going to be the best bang for your buck. But if you can't download the app because you're not on an iPhone or you're not in the US, you should go to the second option, which is the newsletter. And then last but not least, you can also just get some of our ideas. That's completely free. Check it out. Tell us what you think. But most people on Benson started buying those about 5, 6 months ago. Now, before I jump into it, I saw a question that I do want to answer. Somebody said, when will the Android version of Benson be released? We have no date for that right now. I'm going to be honest, y'all. Most of you guys already know this, but my company is about 5, 6 people in total. We don't have the ability to go out and build Android, Apple, web, and all of the other versions first. Our goal first and foremost is to do one thing very well. And that one thing right now is really focusing on the iPhone folks who, are requesting new features and have good ideas for where the product should be going. Our goal is really, really, really to nail that down. So before we release an Android version, our goal is to make sure that we've ironed out a lot of the bugs. I don't hide behind the fact that, again, we are a small team. We are still figuring out. In fact, I think it is one of the best parts about work because I actually get to talk to all of the people that are using the app, get feedback on what needs to be improved, and start working on those features. And then when I release it, people are like, yo, this was exactly what I needed. But with that said, unfortunately, we do not have a date for Android version just yet. Last order of business, y'all. Last order of business. Last order, and then I'm jumping straight into the Nvidia and Palantir game here. Last order of business is that generally at the end of these conversations, what I'll do is I'll share one stock of the day. In the past, in order to unlock that stock of the day, we needed to get the TikTok chat up to 100,000 likes. And honestly, that has been way too easy for y'all. Way too easy for y'all. And I say that because every single day we've done it, we've pretty much hit the mark. So with that said, I've tried to up it just a little bit, y'all. The goal for this chat today is to get the YouTube subscribers up to 125. As it stands right now, let me actually go and check this so that I can see. As it stands right now, and somebody will let me know if I'm wrong here, I see 86 subscribers on YouTube. If we get that up to 125 subscribers on YouTube, I will release my number 1 stock of the day. And I'm actually excited about this stock of the day because, of course, you're naturally going to think it's Palantir and Nvidia, and I can tell you that it is not. This stock of the day happens to be on a little discount, which means that people that unlock this stock of the day today will actually get the luxury of buying the dip, assuming that they decide to do it. Now, with that said, it is absolutely not GameStop. I love when the little people jump in and guess what it is. It is not GameStop. Now, with that said, we're going to jump straight into the headlines for today. We got 3 major headlines. I'm going to jump straight into it. Feel free to drop questions in the chat. I'll try to keep it going. But this one is pretty exciting for me. Again, today or yesterday, we just saw one of the largest partnerships that I think is going to fundamentally shape tech for the next decade, maybe 2. That partnership is, of course, Nvidia and Palantir. Now, the way I like to think about this is we are going to jump into 3 different sections. Nvidia, Palantir, what does this mean for the future? So one thing is just that I want to start out with some numbers. Y'all know that I like numbers here. I love numbers, and so just follow me along with this one. Nvidia this week just crossed a $5 trillion value, meaning the company is the first company in history to ever hit that mark. No other company in U.S. history has ever been valued at $5 trillion. And I think people still underestimate just how massive their value is, not only to the United States, but to the world. Last quarter alone, they made $46.7 billion in revenue. I know I got a little speech impediment. That is billion with a B. $46.7 billion in revenue last quarter alone. That is up 56% since last year. And that's not even the best part. The best part is just that they have profit margins of 72%. I'm a numbers nerd. I know that most people don't care, but what does that mean? That means for every single dollar that they bring in, they get to keep 72 cents of it. Every dollar they bring in for revenue, they get to keep 72 cents of it. One of their chips, which is their old chip now, the H100, cost about $25,000 to $40,000 to just buy one. And the fact is that companies are quite literally lining up and begging to buy those chips. We have never in history seen a company have this much pricing power and dominance over their own space. And I think that sometimes people may underestimate how big of a deal this single company is. Now, the crazy part here is just that Nvidia did not mean to actually create or dominate AI. A little history about Nvidia, because I know a lot of people just started hearing about this company a few years ago. Nvidia has been around since 1993. It was essentially back in the day, and I wasn't even born in 1993, y'all. I was born in 94. So Nvidia has been around longer than I have been alive. And back then, it was 3 engineers who started Nvidia to essentially make graphics for video games. They invented something that was called a GPU. That stands for Graphics Processing Unit. I'm not going to nerd out too much on all the techie stuff here, but I just want you to have an understanding of who Nvidia is so that you can grasp just how massive this is. They created this thing called a graphics processing unit. It was basically a chip that could essentially calculate thousands of tiny calculations all at the same time, which was very different from the way normal computer chips work. Normal computer chips calculate one thing after the other, one thing after the other. These GPUs, however, calculate thousands of tiny calculations all at the same time. I won't speak to it too much, but what that does is it creates better screen quality if you're playing video games. And when you're a gamer, you really care about the quality of your screens. Fast forward, for a really long time, Nvidia was just a very average company until 2012. And in 2012, some AI researchers pretty much had a light bulb moment. And what they realized was that these same gaming chips were perfect for AI. Why? Essentially because of what I just explained. Because training AI is basically doing millions of simple math problems simultaneously. And this is exactly what GPUs were built for. Now, people love to think that that is NVIDIA's secret weapon. They happen to have built a GPU. Yeah, that's fine and dandy. Lots of people build GPUs now. That's actually not what makes NVIDIA so powerful. The secret weapon behind NVIDIA is actually a system. This system is called CUDA, C-U-D-A. And back in 2006, they created CUDA. Now, what is CUDA? I'm so glad that you asked, everyone. CUDA, for lack of better words, is a programming language that NVIDIA created specifically for AI engineers. Fast forward, what that meant was just that every single AI engineer on Earth has been trained using NVIDIA's coding system called CUDA. Why is that so important? That is like the entire world speaking one language. That means going away from that one language is going to be incredibly difficult because everyone else has learned and mastered that one single language. And the best part is that that one language is directly tied to NVIDIA's chips. Before people even realized that NVIDIA was going to dominate AI, they had already been laying the seeds for complete dominance. And that dominance is the fact that it is incredibly difficult to switch away from NVIDIA chips. When you start working with NVIDIA chips, you are going to completely have to learn a whole new language in order to work with anybody else's chips. I'll say that again. When you start using NVIDIA chips, it is nearly impossible to step away. So not only did they provide you with a top-of-the-line chip, they provided you with a language that everybody had to learn, and everybody builds on top of. So these two things go together perfectly now. So even if some flashy new chip came along, it's going to be really difficult to get everybody else to start learning a new language, to try to master that new language, and then, of course, even move away from the old products over to the new ones. That is essentially like asking every pilot in the world to suddenly start flying helicopters instead of airplanes. Yes, it's possible in theory, but in practice, it's nearly impossible. So good luck trying to make that happen. That is the brilliance behind NVIDIA that everybody completely ignores. Like, yes, NVIDIA makes good chips. Yes, they are actually top of the line chips. But the fact is just that NVIDIA educated the entire world and created the foundation for how AI engineers code. It goes back to you learned this in college. If you get a job in AI research, you're learning, you're practicing that language. So you spend 20, 30 years essentially building up your skill set in mastering this language. Meaning, when you get out to the workforce, you pretty much have no choice but to use the CUDA system. Now, I want you to think about this in a way. Y'all know I like analogies. It makes it very easy for me to like visualize what this means. NVIDIA essentially accidentally built the only factory that makes the key ingredients for AI. Yes, everyone else is trying to build their own factories, but all of the ingredients for those factories are written in a language and code that NVIDIA created and mastered. And where we are today is that there's currently a shortage. And countries and companies are fighting over who gets these chips. It's essentially like controlling the world's oil supply, but this time we're talking about artificial intelligence. It's not oil. And I think there's always some people on one side of the camp to say, oh my God, NVIDIA is so expensive. I understand that. Some people look at NVIDIA right now and say, yes, it is trading 54 times earnings. And some people are going to make a case in point that, hey, NVIDIA is incredibly too expensive for me to justify going out to even consider this stock, especially when you think that most tech companies are valued at roughly 25 times earnings. On the flip side, there's some very fun data that just came out. McKinsey, which is the major consulting firm, came out and told us that for every single year going forward, AI is going to essentially add between $2 and $5 trillion to the global economy every single year going forward. I'll say that again. AI is going to be contributing roughly $2 to $5 trillion in value to the global economy every single year going forward. And if you realize that NVIDIA powers all of that, then actually NVIDIA may be a bit cheap based on where it's going in the future. And when you start to consider their next set of chips that are coming out, AKA the Blackwell chips, if you thought that there was an AI chip shortage back in 2022, because there absolutely was, we are experiencing that times like 10. People, again, are lining up around the corner to buy NVIDIA's Blackwell chips. These chips are 30 times faster than the last best chip. And on top of that, because I know we all do care about energy and the environment, not only are they 30 times faster, they use 25 times less energy. So we are saying they are smarter and they run more efficiently. It's not just a simple upgrade that people are lining up to buy. They are essentially buying the world's best technology right now. And again, the buyers of these chips happen to be governments and some of the largest companies on earth who have very, very deep pockets. So again, we don't understand just how massive NVIDIA's moat is right now. And these numbers, I think, sometimes put it into perspective that this company is ultimately about to own the next 20, 30 years of technology. And think about it another way is that right now, running ChatGPT costs millions of dollars in electricity. Blackwell chips are going to make it more affordable and 30 times smarter. What does the world look like when ChatGPT is 30 times smarter than it already is now? I actually want you to think about that as you're listening to me. What does the world look like when we wake up in 5 years and ChatGPT is 30 times smarter than it is today? Keep in mind, we all have some people here who are going to pretend that AI is a bubble. I'm not even going to debate that with you guys today. We all have some people who still have not even, we all know someone who still has not opened up ChatGPT and just played around and asked a few questions. So what does the world look like when ChatGPT is 30 times smarter than it is today? The demand for these new Blackwell chips is insanely high. It's to a point where like Nvidia cannot release them fast enough. Think about the richest companies and countries on earth all saying, I don't care what you charge, just give me 1,000 of them. You're turning around as Nvidia, you're like, oh, okay, sure. What about this price? And then they're like, yeah, sure. You raise it up 20%. And they're like, yeah, sure, I'll buy it at that price too. You start to realize like, oh, you must really, really value what we are doing right now. And my fear when I see that from these companies and countries is just that regular people don't understand just how big of a deal this is. These countries and companies are preparing for the next 20, 30 years, while we have regular people walking down the street pretending that, again, AI is going to go somewhere and disappear. What does this essentially mean? If there's one thing that I want you to take away from this first point of this part here, it's just that Nvidia essentially owns the toll booth to the AI highway. They are not competing in AI. They are charging admission fees so that everyone else who wants to play the game actually has to pay Nvidia. Again, if you have the goal of doing well in AI, you have no choice but to buy the best chips on earth, which happen to be the Nvidia Blackwell chips as of today. And keep in mind, Nvidia gets to keep 72% of every single dollar that you give them. They can name their price and you will have no choice but to pay, because by far these are still amongst the best chips in the world. Every single university that is in the world, and this is not an understatement, every single university in the world is teaching students who are, of course, learning AI, how to code in NVIDIA's coding language, CUDA. So they've built the infrastructure, they built the coding language, and you have nowhere else to go but to buy NVIDIA chips. They are essentially building the infrastructure, and for lack of better words, countries and companies are locked into these chips. So the moment, I will say there is one risk here. The moment that 72% drops below, let's say 70, that is when competition has likely caught up to NVIDIA. But as of right now, there is no competition that is even close to threatening NVIDIA right now. There are some other chips out there that are doing very well. Those chips happen to be very well in other areas. And this Blackwell chip is ultimately the next stage up. I want to talk about this specifically a bit because I know that some people here are going to hear me and say, oh, I should just go all in on NVIDIA. You cannot be further from the truth. People that struggle with this investing game are going to say, okay, I hear that NVIDIA is great. That means I should just throw everything at it. Or they're going to be on the other side and they're going to say, well, it's up 200%. I may have missed the mark already. Both of those are the absolute wrong answers here. I'll explain the larger point, which is just that NVIDIA has a bunch of companies that supply it. Nvidia makes a product that requires 100 different ingredients. The idea here is to share the fact that these chips, as of right now, are not going anywhere. Countries and companies, the wealthiest of them all, are lining up around the door to say, I don't care the price. What does that mean? That means the second order of companies, aka the companies that supply Nvidia, that supply them with all their cables and wires and hardware, are the companies that smart investors are looking at right now. When we look at our best portfolios on Benson, our best portfolios are not the ones that were like, oh yeah, I'm just going to jump all in into Nvidia. No. The best portfolios are the ones that recognized, hey, I need to acknowledge the fact that there are companies that supply Nvidia. Those companies, as an example, jumped up 200-300% this year. This year, 200-300%, while Nvidia has pretty much only done like 40% this year. So when I say the goal is not to just say go all in on Nvidia, no. We are looking at an entire ecosystem, and we're focusing on which companies are going to grow the most because Nvidia is growing. Those are going to be the infrastructure plays behind these massive chip players. So I just don't want anyone to walk away from this and think, oh, this is your sign to just go all in on Nvidia. Absolutely not. Nvidia is a phenomenal company. We do think it's going to be valuable in the next 5-10 years, but we want to see even higher returns. So that just means for us over here on the Benson side of the table, we are also looking at the companies that supply Nvidia. It's just throwing it out there because I do know that when we're talking about these two companies, Nvidia and Palantir, people are die-hard loyalists for them. I get it, I understand. But if you would have jumped in all in on Nvidia, you would have only done, 30-40% this year, while some people here have done 70-80%. So just keep that in mind because I do know that people are going to think about that. But back to the Nvidia thing. Everybody is obsessed with training AI. Rightfully so. It is probably the most important technology of this generation. We are all excited about teaching ChatGPT how to be smarter, but the real money in AI is actually in inference. It's actually running ChatGPT every single time you ask a question. I want you to think about this a bit, which is you train a model once, but you run it millions of times every single day. It's the difference between building a car, which is a one-time cost, versus all the gas it'll ever burn over the entire lifetime, which means ongoing revenue. Inference is the next phase of AI. Right now, we have only been in phase 1. Phase 2 is 10 times larger. This next phase of AI that AMD and Nvidia are competing over is something called inference. Again, we are not engineers here, so I'm not here to really, jump into the nooks and crannies of all the fine details of what's the difference between inference and not. But nonetheless, understand that inference, you did spell that correctly. Good job there. And especially because I know I got a little lazy tongue, so great job that you spelled that correctly. Nvidia knows that inference is the next big deal, and that's why they actually started to release their Blackwell chip. So they're not just trying to win today's training game, they are also trying to monopolize the next version of AI, which is going to absolutely require inference. Moving along to the Palantir side. Palantir is one of the most secretive companies on earth. I can guarantee that if you were to ask 10 people, what the heck does Palantir do? 9 of those 10 people are going to say, I don't know. I just know they work with the military. It is one of the most valuable, secretive companies on earth. And honestly, it makes a lot of sense for why they are so secretive. I'm now about to jump in straight into Palantir and explain what they do, how massive they are, and then we'll start to connect the dots here. So now we're on phase 2 here. Let's focus on Palantir. This company right now is worth about $470 billion, despite 90% of the population having no idea what they do. We all know McDonald's. We know they sell burgers and their real business is real estate. We all know what Nike does. It's a reason why some of these valuable companies are so crystal clear, because you can spit it out. We all know it. You cannot explain what Palantir does. And yet, revenue just hit $1 billion per quarter. It is growing nearly 50% year over year. Their commercial revenue is up 93% this year alone. And to be fair, they only have 850 customers in total. But these are not regular customers. I want to demystify Palantir here a bit, because when you start to understand what they really do, you have appreciation for them. They are not just, a normal tech company by any means. And I also don't think they don't do a good job at explaining what they do, unless you're like really into it. The real business of Palantir is that they build digital twins. We're not talking about, twins of people. They build digital twins of entire organizations. So imagine a perfect simulation of Amazon's entire supply chain, or the US military's global operation that updates in real time. I'll say that again. They build digital twins of the most complicated relationships on Earth. Amazon does a better job of shipping products than the United States Postal Service. Palantir will come in and say, hey, we can do a digital twin of every single step in your process. A little background about Palantir is just that the company was actually started in 2003. Fun fact, and it was funded by the CIA's investment arm. I know most people don't know that, but yes, the CIA has an investment arm. Palantir came out of that investment arm. Their first real job that people also may not know about is they were responsible for helping intelligence agencies connect the dots for what the heck happened with 9/11. They were going through phone records, financial transactions, travel data that humans quite literally just could not process. So Palantir's first big contract that really put them on in the game was the fact that when 9/11 hit, Palantir came and said, hey, you got millions of people trying to figure it out. Let us come in and help. We will look at all of that data. We will do it faster and cheaper, and we will do it more accurately. And I say this because I know that there's a narrative around Palantir. Oh my God, they are Big Brother in the sky. I want to be very honest. We were already watched by the United States. There is nothing that you could do in the United States that could not be caught already. We already have cameras on the front of everybody's door. We quite literally walk around with computers in our pockets. Let's not pretend that you had privacy in the United States. It is like this false narrative. The government knows how much money you're bringing in. They have banks, and those banks have to report to the government. We have the national security agencies. We have cameras on front of everybody's doorbells. We have street cameras. We have Teslas that are driving around with cameras 24/7. People love to pretend that like, oh my God, Palantir is so different. No, it's really not. But, they do something very well, which is they connect the dots. For what it's worth, they don't simply analyze data. What they really start to do for people or these agencies is create something called ontology, which is they start teaching computers how the real world actually operates. Perfect example. A delivery truck is not just a dot on the map. It has a driver who needs brakes. It has cargo with temperature requirements. It has a route that is affected by the weather. It has fuel costs that change daily. It has maintenance schedules. Palantir essentially maps out all of these relationships so that that company that sent that driver out can say, hey, I can anticipate what's about to happen with, I don't know, let's say 90% accuracy, so I can prepare for that. The driver may not know it, but down the road, we see a blizzard coming up. So how is this going to impact when that medicine is delivered to the hospital? Palantir comes in and say, hey, we can help you plan for all of that because we accurately map out all of these minute relationships. And of course, when 9/11 happened, we appreciated the fact that Palantir came and said, hey, we can help you find out who really did this. And the reality is that they do it way better and way cheaper. I think other examples to not just say, hey, this is about a truck driver. The U.S. Army uses Palantir to coordinate logistics for about 1.2 million soldiers. We know that in America, we love our soldiers. If those soldiers are operating on old data, they're screwed. If those soldiers are in a machine or a vehicle or a tank that breaks down because, as an example, we knew on paper that that tank needed to be updated, but for some reason it slipped through. There are millions, if not billions, of decisions that are actually incredibly important for real life application here. Again, they are already servicing 1.2 million soldiers. Those soldiers without this sort of technology are quite literally walking into another man's country blind. Yes, you can send someone out ahead, but that person is also in danger. So when we talk about, hey, like we don't want to send people, our young men to other countries and die, we also understand that, hey, we need to provide these young men with the data that they need to make smart and informed decisions. Plain and simple. The UK's NHS uses it to manage hospital capacity across the entire country. Imagine you waking up one day having an emergency that could have been predicted using data. We saw this happen in 2020 with COVID. If that hospital is understaffed that day, you're screwed. So Palantir locked in a partnership with the UK's NHS to say, hey, we can help you plan for that. BP, which is the big oil production, uses Palantir to essentially help optimize oil production costs around the entire world. Another way to think about this, because again, I do understand that Palantir is a very difficult company to wrap our minds around. Does anybody know the game Sims? I used to play this with my little sister as a kid. Does anybody know that game Sims? This is actually a question for the chat. Does anybody know the game Sims? I'm curious here. I got one yes so far. We got a few yeses so far. Everybody knows the game Sims. Palantir is essentially Sims, except it's your actual city. It's with your real data. And every decision that you make inside of this game, you can look outside your window and it's actually happening. Now, if you're a decent person, that's powerful. It gives you the ability to say, hey, I just moved from Oakland, y'all. And for people that don't know what Oakland is like, it is pretty much Gotham City. I love Oakland. I'm not going to talk crap on Oakland, but nonetheless, there's a massive homeless population in Oakland. Imagine me being able to wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to put Oakland in this game of Sims. And I'm going to look at it and I'm going to say, how can I, reduce the number of people that are without housing or without food? That is Palantir. And I understand that we are naturally pretty skeptical of our government. We may not, rightfully so, given what's happening right now. But assuming that, this sort of insight and this data is in the right hands, these are very, very valuable insights that could actually help people out. And assuming that, our government has good interest. I'm not going to debate that today. I will not debate that today. But assuming that our government has good interest, this information becomes incredibly valuable to help people make smart decisions that actually impact us all. And so, again, the way to think about Palantir is that they allow you to create Sims, but it's based on real data. And before you make any changes in that Sim scenario, you can run a calculation to say, hey, what is going to happen down the line if we do this? You can use that in a lot of different ways if you want to. But if you have good intention, it allows you to make very smart decisions with the right amount of data that you need. Now, with that said, I do understand that there's two camps here. Well, maybe three camps. I think we as regular people, especially when we are watching a government shutdown, especially when we're watching, things that we would say are unlawful happen in this country, Palantir came out and blew up at the best and worst time possible. Again, they really hit the scene when 9/11 hit. That was really their first big opportunity, but nonetheless, they didn't get that name recognition until probably like the last year or so. And it's unfortunate for them because, again, they really did help out with the 9/11 crisis. But that's one camp, that we are naturally skeptical of Big Brother watching us. And since Palantir does connect dots with data, it makes sense. From an investor point of view, which is where I'll stay, because that's what I'm really here about. I'm about investing. From an investor point of view, there's two main camps with Palantir. One side says that the company is overhyped. It's just a consulting company. They are going to point out that government contracts still make up 55% of revenue. What if they lose one big contract? Yeah. I get it. Palantir did just lock in a $10 billion contract with the United States Army. On the other hand, Palantir is essentially building to where these high value customers can never leave. When you start to recognize that you can run the United States military, reduce the amounts of death amongst our soldiers, have far more accuracy with every operation going forward, you start to realize why do we ever go back to pencil and paper and these old computers? I like to think about this from the military point of view because I will say, as Americans, one thing that most people are not going to argue is just that the military is important. And when we're talking about, Big Brother watching us, a different story. But we can argue, and most people can get behind the fact that we don't want to see, our soldiers go into dangerous situations flying blind. So there's two camps here. One camp is going to say, hey, Palantir is incredibly expensive. It's overhyped. It's just a consulting company. The other one is saying, hey, the Army just signed a $10 billion contract. When they start working with them, they are not going to stop. And again, I think Palantir's platform is not just a regular sort of like ChatGPT. It's AI that allows the military to actually take action. It's not just going to tell you what to do. It's actually going to do it for you, assuming that you approve, of course. So instead of telling AI, order more inventory for store 237, Palantir's AI is actually going to place the orders, schedule the deliveries, adjust the staffing all automatically. And companies are now starting to deploy this sort of AI in days, not years. The big argument right now behind Palantir is that, these consulting companies used to charge $10 million and it would take them 2 years to give you that insight. Palantir comes in and says, hey, we'll do it for $1 million and we'll give you the insight in a week. So these companies, militaries, or countries are now able to get more data a lot faster, a lot cheaper, so that they can move quickly. The way I think about the way that Wall Street looks at Palantir is just that they are thinking of Palantir as a consulting company. I see Palantir as a service or a tech service company. They are essentially transforming into a software platform that makes governments, the military, and all of these other agencies incredibly efficient. Now, why does this matter for all of us? Why does this matter for all of us? Everybody right now is building, AI models. OpenAI, Google, Meta, thousands of startups. Palantir is the only company that is taking those models and putting them in the real world. The only company right now. We've heard about, AI can solve cancer. Palantir is quite literally the only company that is able to take all of this high-tech data and say, let's put this in the hands of the government to where they can actually use it. It's the difference between having a brilliant idea and actually being able to execute on it. And the kicker is just that once Palantir actually deploys the system somewhere, that organization becomes incredibly efficient. And again, the switching costs are way too high. When the way that a lot of us investors look at Palantir, we pretty much look at one major metric, which is when commercial revenue passes 60% of their total. That is when Wall Street is finally going to realize this is not just a government contractor anymore. It's an operating system for essentially all AI. And I think the part that people may completely ignore is that Palantir is not competing with other software companies. They are building the app store for enterprise AI. So essentially, every company that builds an AI model will need Palantir to say, hey, let's put this into the real world, because all this stuff in ideas is not as important as it is in theory. We need to actually put this in action. Now, when these two companies actually come together, and this is part 3 of the docket, when these two companies actually come together, we are watching the most valuable partnerships on earth happen. Nvidia and Palantir have officially said, hey, we are going to integrate the technologies together. Palantir software is essentially going to run directly on the Blackwell chips, and Palantir will get priority access to some of the most valuable chips on earth. They're building something quite literally. They named it. It's a terrible name, but they did name it Government AI Factory. And that's actually the name, by the way. And this isn't just this isn't just exclusive. It is, I would call it, more of a deep integration. It's almost like Apple and Taiwan Semiconductors coming together. It's like a true relationship where both parties need each other. And I want to paint a picture of what this actually enables, because I know that naturally people are just all anti-surveillance. I get it. We live in America. But the future is quite different because of this. Right now, AI has this massive problem. It's like we've invented some of the best recipes, but nobody actually has a kitchen to make this stuff. Companies have these brilliant AI models that can diagnose cancer, predict equipment failures, optimize traffic, but they do not know how to actually get this into the real world. And it's actually quite simple. It's because the real world is really, really messy. Hospitals have regulations, banks have compliance, military simply has security requirements that you cannot skip past. So the AI might be smart, but unless you can actually follow the rules and the constraints, it is completely useless. This partnership will essentially allow Nvidia to provide the raw power for the world's most powerful engine. Palantir provides a control system, the steering wheels, the brakes, the safety systems, all of that. Together, they can create AI that is not just smart, but it is deployable, secure, and actually compliant. Hospitals will be able to run AI that predicts patient surges before anyone else. They'll be able to do that while also protecting the privacy of those individuals. Banks can deploy AI that will catch fraud well before it actually happens. And military, of course, can use this AI for logistics without putting actual soldiers at risk. The old excuse of the infrastructure is not there, is no longer usable. Like, you cannot make that excuse anymore. You will have the security that you need, you'll have the compliance that you need, and you'll be able to do these things while all supporting those underlying agencies, the hospitals, the militaries, X, Y, and Z. And I think that is what we are looking at when we're looking at this actual partnership. And again, these are chips that everybody else is fighting to get in front of. Now, I do think there's another layer to this where things do get really interesting. Tech companies honestly collaborate all the time. It's not that big of a deal. Other people are going to argue that this is probably the start of an AI duopoly. And what we are about to see is that we are about to see these two companies get to control who actually gets to dominate in this AI game. This isn't about two companies working together. This is actually about creating the operating system that every country and government leans on. And fortunately for us here, it will be the United States that gets to determine who has access to these sorts of tools. I know that right now we have this big conversation happening right now, which is we are, for lack of better words, in this little beef with China. And I get it. I think it does make a lot of sense as well. These two companies right now coming together create the operating system for all governments around the world. The reason why the United States has been so powerful in the past is because we controlled the best military and we controlled the most important currency, which was the dollar. Now, this is about to be the third leg of the US dominating the rest of the world. And this third leg is arguably a lot more important than the first two. We don't need as many guns if we have powerful AI, and more importantly, if the United States is able to, control that AI relative to their peers. There's a reason that the United States decided that, hey, we cannot ship all of these great chips over to China, because if we put all of this intelligence in the hands of China, we are screwed. So as much as we hate government oversight, there is one part about this, which is that this allows the US to continue dominating everywhere else. And I think that this is just the start. We are essentially going to see what I think of as like 3 tiers of countries. You're going to see the AI superpowers, which are going to be like the US, the UK, and all of our key allies. You're going to see the second group of people, the people who are saying, hey, we want to, be better than all of them. That's going to be like the China and the Russias of the world. And then you're going to see everybody else who has to pick a side. In the past, they've had to pick a side based on currency and military power. That's not going to matter as much over the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So as a result, the next big conversation of who decides to be on whose side is going to be solely based on AI. And it's because AI makes these governments, these companies, a lot more efficient, smarter, and able to actually maneuver tactically. You think about that again for the military. We, as Americans, get to pride ourselves on having such a good country. I'm not going to argue that. A good country relative to other places. I'm a black guy, so look, I have my personal things there, but nonetheless, we get to enjoy these benefits because our government dominates the rest of the world. For lack of better words, our government dominates, and as a result, we get to benefit. I get to get up here and talk about whatever I want. In other countries, I would not have the luxury of just speaking freely about what the heck I like or don't like. So these two companies coming together are essentially building the operating systems for the entire world. Now, I know for a fact that everybody is going to look at this and either, feel something. But the investor side of group, I'm going to focus on you guys. The investor side is going to look at this and say, hey, that means I should just throw a crap load of money into Nvidia and Palantir. And again, that would be silly. While I do think Palantir and Nvidia are phenomenal companies, the companies that are really, really going to do incredibly well here are the companies that work with Palantir and Nvidia. Now, of course, if you're on Benson, we have handled that for you already. And in like 2 days, you are about to see the next set of stocks that are rolling out to really help you get more exposure to some of the infrastructure behind Nvidia and Palantir. What that means is just that in order for Palantir or Nvidia to work well, they need 100, maybe 200 other companies that all supply them. For the last year or so, we have been focusing on those companies. So while Nvidia has jumped up, I think 30, 40% this year, the companies that supply them have jumped up 300-400% this year. And fortunately for us, we have been buying those companies up for a really long time. So if you are doing this on your own, do not take this as a conversation to say, hey, let me just go blindly buy Palantir and Nvidia. Both and all companies on earth will get beat up at some point in time. So do not just blindly go and say, hey, I am going to throw all of my money there. That's not the game. That's not the smart play. If you want to be smart about this, you are looking at the companies that work with and build out the infrastructure behind AI. Of course, if you're on Benson, we got you already. You've been doing well because that has been one of our key focuses. But if you're doing this on your own, do not blindly just go and throw money into Palantir and Nvidia. They are phenomenal companies. I do think they're going to be great over the next 5 or so years, 10, 20, who knows. But you still want to be mindful that the stock market goes up and down every day. But over the long haul, stock market generally goes up. I know for a fact I have completely ignored some people in the chat, but I do think that this is one of those conversations where people get nervous sometimes when they hear this amount of insight or data that our government will have. So the way I like to think about this, and this is the same sort of response that I generally get when I talk about Tesla. Some people hate Elon Musk. I get it. My goal here is not to tell you what's good or bad. My goal here is to provide you information so that you can make a decision on how to use it. Even when we are on Benson, we don't automatically just put your money into a random stock that you don't approve of. We always want your input. And because your input means that you are going to have to decide whether or not you want to hold on to these stocks for the long haul or not. So even for people that are not on Benson, this is not a conversation of here's what you should believe. What I want to do is provide you with the data so that you can say, okay, what parts do I like? What parts do I not? And then how do I take action with this information? I think right now there's a lot of conversation going on about, oh, AI this, AI that, but not too many people are giving us the actual information that we need so that we can make our own informed decisions about it. So I am going to open the floor for questions about anything that was covered here, because I do think this is not one of the conversations where I want to just end it, jump off and say, cool, we hit our goal. Let me share the stock of the day. This is one of those areas where I do know that people feel a way about it. But when we look at the data here, in my opinion, it's very easy to see where this is going. I'm thinking about this from the angle of, hey, are these companies going to make money? Yes or no? Are these companies going to, help the country move in the right direction? Yes or no? Take it from there. Astro dropped some information here, but that was not really a question. Somebody did follow up with a question to ask, what about my thoughts on AMD, Intel, ASML? There's lots of companies. I can't give my thoughts on all of them. But what I will say is that the top tier chip companies, aka Nvidia, right now have 80-90% of market share. What that means is just that when you start looking at AMD versus Nvidia, one, I think AMD is actually a phenomenal company. AMD does do really well at what they actually do. For those that don't know, AMD is another chip company. It's like little brother for Nvidia. They've been around an equal amount of time. If I'm correct, fun fact, both the CEOs of AMD and Nvidia are actually cousins. But they have a slightly different use case. AMD is really good at inference. This Blackwell chip is now trying to compete with AMD's game. So we are going to see how this shakes out over the long haul. I actually own both of them, AMD and Nvidia personally, but it is what it is. I think both companies are great. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Somebody asked, why is AMD more than Nvidia? Don't think about stock price. Stock price is not valuable information. Stock price is just a number on the screen. You don't have to pay the full price of that stock. You can buy $5 of that stock if you want. Um, AMD is not at all more than Nvidia. The value of Nvidia is $5 trillion. The value of AMD is not anywhere near $5 trillion. So stock price is a number that does not make sense for most people. It's so hard for us to wrap our minds around that. But my number one thing to say is the price that you see for a stock does not matter. And it's because you can buy $5 of it, $10 of it, or $100 of it. It does not matter. You can buy fractional pieces. So don't worry too much about the stock price. What you care about is, is this a valuable company? Are they growing their revenue? Can I stand behind this company for the next 5, 10 years? X, Y, and Z. Though that's really how you want to think about it. And I'm assuming, of course, you're not on Benson, so you're trying to do this thinking on your own. So that's why I'm giving you that insight. Astro asked a question and said, is Nvidia in a situation similar to Cisco? Why is Jensen so optimistic but sells his stock? I'm going to focus on the second part of that. Why would a CEO be so optimistic and still sell some of the stock? That's a good question, and I like to give that a actual answer here. Jensen Huang has been building this company since 1993 for basically 31, 32 years. It is only over the past 5 years where he's actually made some serious money. You work at a job for 30 years, 32 years, and you finally get that big payout. You're like, bro, I got to enjoy something. Jensen Huang still owns a huge portion of his stocks in Nvidia. So it's not as if like he believes the company is going to crap. It is just, I'm sitting on X number of $1 billion. Let me finally have some fun. I think we tend to overthink on a CEO selling just a small portion of his stock. Now, if Jensen Huang came out and said, hey, I'm selling half of my shares in Nvidia, it would be a different ballgame. He's not selling anywhere near half of his shares. It's just the fact that he's been working on this company for 32 years. And he's finally gotten to a point where like, oh, crap, I just built one of the world's most valuable companies. Maybe I want a yacht. Maybe I want a little airplane or whatnot. Like, I don't know. But don't spend too much time worrying about, how or why he is selling it unless, that's a material portion of his ownership. If Jeff Bezos came out and said, I'm selling 90% of my Amazon, then I would start thinking, hey, something is really going on with Amazon. Or, Jeff Bezos sells a few $100 million because he got another yacht that he wants to buy. So lots of reasons for why, but I wouldn't spend too much time on it. Chrissy said, can you let me know what more I need to set up the account? It's actually pretty simple, Chrissy. Go to your iPhone, download Benson AI. It will guide you through it. And on top of that, I will shoot you a text just to check on you to see how things are going. But just go straight to your app store, download Benson AI, and it will, for the most part, guide you through it. Now, I got a moment for a few more questions. Pam, can you do me a favor, please? Can you tell me how many subscribers we have on YouTube now? I can't see it on my phone because, I don't know, my phone's slow. But Pam, can you let me know how many subscribers we have on YouTube? Because I will share the stock of the day if we are at 125. If not, that means it was a good little challenge because y'all have been crushing these challenges so far. So let me know. Cool. We are at 87 subscribers on YouTube. If you want the stock of the day, which happens to be on a nice little discount, I need you to do one simple thing. 89, sorry, not 87. I need you to do one simple thing. You can actually still listen to me as I explain this as well. Swipe up on your iPhone, go to the app YouTube. Type in Benson Report. BENSON, report. Click that subscribe button. The goal here before I get off is to get to 125 subscribers. If we get there, I will share the stock of the day. If we don't, no pressure. I'll share the stock of the day maybe on Tuesday. But the goal right now is that if you want the stock of the day, go ahead over to YouTube, search for Benson Report, and click on that subscribe button. With that said, I'll take a few more minutes just to see if we can get somewhere close to that 125. If not, no pressure. But there was a question that just popped up in the chat. Empress said, "Do you have courses on investing?" Empress, that's a really good question, and the answer is no, I do not. I have spent the last 15 years learning this game of investing, and I realized that, frankly, I am not a good teacher. I enjoy talking, I enjoy research, but I'm not a good teacher. And more importantly, I also want you to actually do well. So I don't really have a course where I sit down and teach how to make a DCF or anything of the sort. But the reason why I created Benson is so that Benson can actually do it for you. I think another part of this investing thing is just that we got to be honest. We all got emotions and we don't have a lot of time. We have emotions because every day we wake up, the news is telling us the world is ending. And then if you are not a smart investor, you are going to go ahead and sell everything just because, you know, the news said the world was ending. We saw this happen in April. And then in terms of like, we don't have enough time, it's just that, you know, everybody got jobs. They're trying to make it work. If I told you that it's going to take 10,000 hours for you to get really good at this investing thing, you'd look at me like I'm crazy and say, no, just show me the shortcut. And unfortunately, there is no shortcut to being, you know, solid with this investing thing. So I realized that my goal is to say, hey, why don't I give you information that you can actually act on in real time? So for that reason, I built the app that would actually do the investing for you. It will share you the research. If you like the stock and the thesis behind it, you click approve, and then it's handled from there. I think that is my best contribution, but I know for a fact I am not a good teacher. I, in my personal life, am a very impatient person. I struggle to like even teach my little sister how to drive because in my head, I'm just like, oh, it's so obvious. Just click the blinker. You don't want to be in a class where I'm teaching. I'm not that patient, but I appreciate you asking that question. But yeah, no, I don't have any courses. I want you to win. I think sometimes courses are going to take a bit too long for you to get to the point of taking action. Time is valuable in this investing game. I want you to win. So I built an app that helps out with that. Somebody in the chat just said something silly, so I'm actually about to block this guy, Fred James. But with that said, let me know what other questions come to mind so I can help answer them. I got a few more minutes before I jump off. Pam, Courtney, I appreciate y'all. Courtney said he's gotten a lot better at teaching. I've gotten better, but I'm still not a good teacher. Pam said he's done an amazing job with us. I appreciate both of y'all. Any other questions come to mind while I'm here? Let me also drink some water. Petra said, sir, were you the one I've been chatting? Petra, I don't know. I text a lot of people. As soon as you download the app and sign up, I do shoot you a message. Oh, crap. There was something that I completely missed. Thank you for the reminder, Pam. Some people are here who still don't know what Benson is. Let me help you out. Benson is your AI investing app that does all of your investing for you automatically. We research thousands of stocks each month and show you our best 10. Once you approve the ones you like, we take care of the rest, buying and selling all automatically. For you guys that don't know, that is Benson. We do a really good job at what we do. Chrissy said, I did download the app and thought I signed up, but no one took money yet. You probably did not set up your account. So, Chrissy, go ahead and open the app right now and finish setting it up. Chrissy, I likely have already texted you as well. So you can also respond back if you need help. But yeah, Petra said, I'm the one that had a lot of questions. There are a lot of people that have a lot of questions. When did we last talk, Petra? What's your name, Petra? Because I know Petra is not your name. Lots of people have lots of questions, but I do text everyone that actually downloads the app, check in if they need help, offer them to, hey, go and check out maybe the free list if you were not able to sign up. Any other questions coming through the chat, y'all? How many subscribers are we at now on YouTube? We got a few more minutes. We got a few more minutes to just see. Oh crap, we're at 95. We're at 95 subscribers on YouTube. We're getting close. Maybe it'll be a Tuesday thing, but if you another question came in. Somebody said, I liked your insights on the whole AI space. What should the kids in high school focus on in terms of careers? I struggle with this one so much. Jacqueline just subscribed. I appreciate you, Jacqueline. Jacqueline, excuse me. What can the youth do? I think one skill that I encourage a lot of my mentees to go out and work on is actually start playing around with these tools. The advantage that the youth have over all of us is just that they're very comfortable with this AI stuff. They are not afraid of it because they've been using this to help out with tests and papers, X, Y, and Z. When I moved my little sister into college, what I did was I encouraged her to start or join the AI club on campus. And my goal for her is that she will, as an example, hopefully start saying, hey, I need this tool. Why don't I try to use AI to build it? I think one of the most important skills that the youth should have right now is actually curiosity. Curiosity and boredom, because boredom will allow you to actually spend time trying to solve that problem. That sounds abstract. I know that you want me to say, hey, study this subject matter. I think that is going to be less important in the future. It is going to be your ability to communicate, manage your emotions, operate under stress, think bigger, and try to ultimately pull a lot of these different tools together. That's not a specific degree. That is a skill that I think some of the most important people are going to prioritize over the next decade or two. Most of the time with AI, you're able to learn the basics of a lot of different things. So your goal is to remain curious. And when that curiosity hits, try to focus in on it. Poison Ivy said, what can I do to see even better growth in my account? You can increase your weekly budget. Increasing your weekly budget is single-handedly one of the most important things that you could do. So allow Benson to invest more money. And I think that would absolutely help. Any other questions from the chat here, y'all? Jackson, I appreciate you. Jackson just jumped on the YouTube live and subscribed. Poison Ivy said, I increased it by 100%. If you are not at the max, then you still have room to grow. And I am pretty sure you are not at the max for what Benson allows. So increasing it 100% could simply be going from $15 to $30 every week. And the max that you can do on the app is like $300. So that the answer still stays the same. Increase your weekly budget if your goal is to see that account number grow even more. If you missed the live, this will be on YouTube. As soon as I click in this chat, it is going to be on YouTube. Somebody said, I love your comments. I agree. Grow to be creators. Thank you. I'm glad that was helpful. Sometimes I just be talking. Hopefully it sticks. Hopefully you find value in it, but I am glad that you found value in that. Somebody asked, does Benson invest in dividend stocks? Yes, we do. But I don't think that dividend stocks are going to do that much for you. I have this burning pain with dividend stocks. I can talk about it if you're curious. Otherwise, I'll stop it and say, yeah, we do invest in dividend stocks, but it is what it is. We do not only focus on growth stocks. Fun fact, one of the first assets that you are going to be asked to pick from is going to be an ETF that absolutely does pay dividends. But, unless you want me to bore you with the details of why I'm not too much into dividends, I'll just stop right there. Into Mischief said that he got the newsletter. Beast mode. Somebody asked, what is Benson AI? And y'all can tell my mouth is dry. So I am going to, Benson is your AI investing app that does all of your investing for you automatically. We research thousands of stocks each month and show you our best 10. Once you approve the ones you like, we take care of the rest. Buying and selling all automatically. Hope that answers it, Sid. That is what Benson is. It's an AI app that does all of your investing for you. Into Mischief, you are right there with me. Into Mischief said, I hate dividend stocks with a passion. I personally think dividend stocks are the biggest lie that most people have decided to accept. So I am right there with you. I do not at all focus on dividend stocks personally. I do think, everybody has their rationale for it. We love this idea of, it creates passive income. Yeah, if you got like $5 million in that stock. But that's about it. So, Into Mischief, thank you. I'm actually going to talk about it. I'm going to get this off my chest. A dividend is 1% of the dollars that you put in. 1, maybe 2%. You put in $100, and over the course of a year, they're going to pay you back 1, maybe 2% of that in a dividend. I'll say that again. You give them $100. They're going to say, hey, cool, we'll give you back 2% of that over the course of a year. The reason why I hate dividend stocks is because unless you got $2-3 million in that asset, that money is not going to mean much for you. If I gave you $1,000 to go and put that into a dividend stock, you are going to make 2% of that back in a year. I think unless you already have $2, $3, $4 million in the market, your goal should be focusing on assets that are appreciating. So rather than worrying about getting $1 or $2 back from your 100, your goal is to say, hey, take that $100 and grow it into $120. That's going to do me a lot better than you trying to give me back $2. I think these dividends are also, 90% of the time taxed. So people are like, oh yeah, they gave me $2. That felt great. And then you also got to pay taxes on that. And then on top of that, that stock was pretty much flat for the most part. So dividends are pretty much 2% back on your money. You could quite literally go to a high yield savings account and do better than you would for dividends. It's disrespectful the way that people have been lied to, saying that dividends are going to change your life. Unless you got $2-3 million in that stock, those dividends are not going to do much for you at all. So that's why I personally dislike dividends. Your portfolio will grow a lot more if your focus was appreciation. Now that does not mean, again, go be crazy and buy all these random penny stocks. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying dividends are simply, in my opinion, not that valuable unless you have a few $1 million in the stock market already. So that's just my opinion. You take it or leave it. I know for sure some people are going to be very happy when they see that, $1.25 hit their account. Not me. I want that company to say, hey, we turned your $100 into $120. Then I'm a happy guy. Somebody said, once I knew that the dividend was a waste of time, I went and took all my money out. That's just, yeah, man. Like you see it and you're like, oh yeah, I got 62 cents back on this. You're just like, bro, I put in $400. What the heck is this? Yeah. That's just really what it is. Um, Somebody said, for a young guy, that man knows a lot. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Somebody said, but for good diversification, since they are defensive with less volatility, you can get the same level of diversification by just buying the S&P 500. You can get diversification in a lot of different ways. A lot of different ways. You don't need dividends specifically as the way. Now, to be fair, there is a school of thought where it's just like, hey, if you are 70 years old, and I appreciate all y'all that are responding back to that person that's trolling. See, I told y'all I'm working on my patience here, so I've been completely ignoring the guy. He clearly is looking for some attention. Pam, if I'm correct, you have moderator access, so you can't just block the guy. We don't really have space for people that are just coming in and talking crap, so just go ahead and block them. But what was I saying? There is a school of thought where people say, hey, dividends are important if you are, 70, close to retirement. That makes a lot of sense. However, the average person, as they get to retirement, does not have a significant amount of money. The average person, when they get to retirement, are actually still going to be concerned. And, if I say, hey, I'll give you $100 over the course of a year as your dividend, you're still not going to feel like that is meaningful for you. So I generally say that makes sense, in my opinion, if you have a lot of money. But if you do not have a lot of money, that 1% back every year is not going to be meaningful. So if you were trying to figure out if dividends are important for you, let's say what you should do is say, hey, if I summed up all of my investment accounts, all of them, and essentially said I can get back 1% every year, if that 1% means a lot to you, that's good. So for example, if you have $100,000 in the stock market across all of your different accounts, 1% back would be you get $1,000 over the course of a year. If you think that $1,000 over the course of 12 months is sufficient for you, then hey, maybe dividends are the appropriate route to focus on. And that's why I said, hey, I think most people need $1 million or $2 million before dividends become important for them. Somebody asked a question that said, can it also do day trading? Absolutely not. I appreciate that question, but day trading is the equivalent of gambling. We'll leave that to the people who want to do the day trading. We won't help you gamble. Our goal is to help you grow your account. We are long-term investors. And yeah, that's the focus. So no, we don't do the day trading. Somebody said 1923 a week. I don't know where they got their math from. I don't know what 1923 a week actually means, but hey, sure, that makes sense somewhere. Not really sure what that actually means. Somebody said 1,000 a year. What? Oh, $1,000 a year. Yeah, that is exactly what I mean. If your portfolio is, $10,000 or $100,000, that literally only means $1,000 a year. So I don't think $1,000 over the course of a year is going to help anybody out. So that's why I'm like, unless you got a few million. But again, if you really love dividends, you do your thing. Buy those dividend stocks up. My portfolio, I think my portfolio's up 190% this year. Yeah, as of today, my personal portfolio is up 190%. So you ain't gonna get that sort of growth focusing on dividends. So that is my thought there. Exactly. Somebody said, no, I definitely need more than 1,000. Exactly. So again, there are some people who are going to die on the hill and say dividends are the most important thing on earth. Just not me. Success with Ron. He responded. He was saying that 1923 a week is $1,000 a year. Yeah, I am right there with you, bruh. No, thank you on that $1,000 over the course of a year, man. My goal is to get my portfolio up as high as possible. And then, maybe if I got $1 million or $2 liquid, then I'm like, all right, cool. Maybe I'll focus on some dividend stuff. But until then, that's just not my priority. So success with Ron. Thank you for following up, because I had no idea what you meant when you said 1923 a week. Yeah, that ain't about to help too many people out. That's not even about to get you even get you a McDonald's meal. Somebody said, I'm sorry for Mr. Mystery Dude. I'm sorry I skipped your question. Mr. Mystery Dude said, so I have the app downloaded. Does the AI buy and sell like insider trading or based on news? That's a really important distinction. Insider trading is illegal. I'll say that. We don't do insider trading. Insider trading is the equivalent of you being like one of the CEOs of the companies or the chief financial officer, and that y'all are about to have a crazy earnings, and then you go out and buy the stock. That's illegal. You'll go to jail for that. Nobody is allowed to do insider trading, so we don't do that. But we also don't just buy based on the news. The news is old information. What we're looking at is the fundamentals of these companies. We're saying, are their revenues growing? Are their customer base growing? Are they building a technology or a product that is going to be valuable in the next 5-10 years? Do they have a good track record of achieving their milestones? You can look at a lot of different data. And then, of course, we're reading 10Ks, 10Qs, Wall Street reports, all that sort of information. And then on top of that, doing a fundamental analysis, which has roughly 130 different variables on that company. So all that to say, the AI does do all of the work for you. It is buying based on all of that stuff. But no. Nobody's doing insider trading, man. That's illegal. And anybody telling you that they're doing insider trading, you better stay far away from them because they're going to get you in trouble as well. But no, not insider trading, and it's surely not based on news. News is old. Chrissy said, good answer. Oh, yeah, facts. Els Everson said, ask Martha Stewart. She went to jail for insider trading. Thank you for the update there, Pam. I'm about to jump off, y'all, but I want to say this. On Tuesday, we are still going to be trying to unlock the stock of the day. By that time, we're going to have the next stocks out, which is really dope. But if you are, as an example, if you showed up late to this live, you can do something very simple to catch up on what all we just spoke about. This entire conversation is actually on YouTube. It's all been recorded, so you will be able to see every single point around Nvidia, Palantir, and what we just went over. All you have to do is go to YouTube, type in Benson Report, BENSON, just like right up there. Now, there are 3 ways to get involved with Benson. The most valuable way for you is, of course, to download the app. The app is going to do 95% of the work for you. You have to, of course, be on an iPhone. You have to be in the United States. But if you want the best returns relative to everything else in terms of like the other 2 options, you're absolutely jumping on the app. And that's because the AI would also be doing all of your buying, selling, and showing you all the research behind it. Now, if you're on an Android or you're just not in the United States, we do have something else for you, which is option number 2. You can just subscribe to the newsletter. The newsletter is going to share with you what are the top 10 stocks. At the same time we release them to the people on the app, they will be released to you as well. Now, of course, if you're on the newsletter, you'll have to, buy it on your own, sell it on your own, reinvest, and all those sorts of things. But nonetheless, at least you'll know what are our top 10 stocks each and every single month. Now, if you're like, hey, I don't believe this guy. I don't believe any of the people in the chat that have dropped their reactions to the app. I don't believe any of the App Store reviews. I don't believe anything. Then we also got something for you. The third thing is you can get some of our old ideas. We still think that those ideas are going to be way better than what you're able to do on your own. But these are ideas that people on Benson started buying 6-7 months ago. In order to get that, all you do is go to meetbenson.com. You'll see free stock ideas all the way in the top right. Click that. And there you go. You'll get some of our old ideas. We still think those old ideas are great, but just people on Benson, started buying those stocks up months ago. The newsletter can also be found on the website. Again, the website is meetbenson.com. And then the YouTube channel is Benson Report. Somebody asked, do I upload money to your app or Webull? You upload money to Webull. That's a really good question. You do upload money to Webull. Benson does not hold your money. We don't hold your stocks. We are the brain, and we plug into your Webull. But you are very welcome, Chrissy. Thank you, Jackie, for dropping it in the chat. For those also that are on Benson, I hope that you have joined the CEO Club. Today, we did something for everybody in the CEO Club that I thought was very fun, which was I needed help with something. I was just like, hey, can you help me out with this? If you do, I will give you one of the stocks for the month of November. And I'll share it with you, and then I'll have Benson buy it for you early and automatically. That is one of those sorts of benefits of just being a person that I can reach out to when I need help. The idea behind the CEO Club is just that everybody in the CEO Club are people that are saying, hey, I'm comfortable giving you feedback. I want to see the product grow. Let me know what you need so I can help you out. And then, of course, in exchange, I'm going to help you out as well. I'm going to return the favor. So what we did today was say, hey, I need help with this specific thing. Can you do this? If you were down for it, sure thing. You sent me a screenshot, confirmed. And then what I did is I gave you an extra little update with Benson to say, hey, I just had Benson go ahead and buy one of the November stocks that we have not released yet, because I want to say thank you for, helping me out with this problem that I have. It's a beautiful sort of exchange. It does not cost. If you're inside of Benson, all you do is quite simple. I got the Trump fingers here. It's quite simple. All you do is open Benson, click on the profile in the top left. And then from there, click Join CEO Club. That's it. I'll shoot you a text message right after. Consuelia, I see that you just joined the CEO Club. I'll make sure that you're in for the next sort of update that I send out. Also, for people in the CEO Club, the idea is just that, hey, I become your personal customer service rep. You let me know what problems you're having with the app. You let me know what new features you think would be valuable. I'm adding it to our backlog of the 100 other features that we're working on. So Pam just said it was the most exciting part of my day. I appreciate you, Pam. I don't know if y'all know this. Pam is quite literally my second mom. And she's also, her and my mom share the same name. My actual mom is also named Pam. Pam is always one of the first people to respond whenever I need help. So I say that to say I love every single person that actually responds and gives me that sort of feedback when I need it. And Pam is quite literally one of those day one. And that doesn't discount all the other people here. There are plenty of other people here who have been here for since day one. But I think Pam was quite literally one of the first people to respond to my text message this morning. It was that instant. And it's helpful to have people that you can reach out to when you need help. That is the CEO Club for me. So with that said, y'all, I know I had to rush off last time, but last order of business before I dip out, because we did not get to 125 likes, or subscribers, it is okay. We'll get there next time, hopefully. The last order of business that I like to do, because it makes me feel good, is to say good night to every single person that jumped on. Why do I do this? I do this because, one, I'm always nervous every time I get up here. And when I see people chopping it up in the chat, I'm seeing familiar names, X, Y, and Z. It honestly makes me feel like, cool. I'm just here talking to my friends and family. It's not that big of a deal. It helps me out because I see the familiar names. And then, other people jump in and be like, hey, that's not what we do here. We don't curse. We don't drag people in the chat or talk crap. So for me, this feels like family. And I think it is always wrong to get off the phone with family and be like, without saying like a good night or I love you. So what I tend to do here is I go through the chat and say good night to every single person here. So to kick it off, I start off with the top of the list. Pam, as always, thank you for being here. Good night. I appreciate you. Chrissy S., thank you for the really good questions. I don't know if I've seen you here before, but if this is my first time chatting with you and you came in with that many questions, that is great. What that says to me is just that other people here have made it very comfortable to ask questions, which I appreciate. We are talking about money, which is always nerve wracking. But you know, you have a different icon maybe if you have been here. I also appreciate you because you probably encouraged other people to ask questions. So either way, Chrissy S., I appreciate that. L Sugar, good night. Jacqueline, good night. Cam, good night. Poison Ivy, good night. Kendra, good night. Jackie, good night. Pins 1027, good night. Melbourne, good night. Success with Rom, good night. 1923 a week is actually crazy. That is what $1,000 over the course of a year is. I didn't think about breaking it down that way, but if 1923 a week for $100,000, absolutely insane. Thank you for dropping that math fact there, Success with Rom, and doubling back to explain it to me because I definitely did not catch it the first time. Morgan, good night. Kimberly, the artist, good night. Brown Eyes, good night. L Hawk, good night. Glinda, you have to add an icon. I'm a visual person. I'm not going to be able to remember the 318-808-0157-5642. Miss Glinda, go ahead and add an icon to your profile so I know that that's you. That's actually how I remember. It's like the name plus icon combo. So as soon as you change your icon, I'm like, oh, okay. Let me relearn who this is. So yeah, add an icon. Jamal said his mom's first name is also Pam, by the way. That's really dope. Mr. Run 'em Down, good night. Bay Hustler, good night. Sid, good night. User 259986341, good night. Zongo Seasoning, good night. DJ Tech One, good night. Libby, good night. Shelton Porte, good night. Jim Sosu, good night. Pierre, good night. G Johnson, good night. J Castro, good night. Barbie Wood 22, good night. T, good night. Farah, good night. Granda G, good night. User 617-464-216-42002, good night. Janu, good night. Carl Williams, good night. PZE, good night. Mike the Chick Pro. That is a crazy name, bro. That is a crazy name. Good night. Steve Farco, good night. Conti, good night. Eddie White, good night. Gail Bentley. That's a very strong name. Gail Bentley. Your parents put some intention behind that name. I love it. Noli, good night. A1, good night. Jeannie, good night. Amma, good night. Tracy Williams, good night. Kevin Smith, good night. Straight Black Coffee, 510, good night. Straight Black Coffee, are you from Oakland? YouTube, Cleasy, Abnormal, good night. Leah, good night. Janu, good night. Blessed One, Usi, good night. Conti, good night. Morehouse, 69, good night. I think I got everyone. If you missed this live, it is on YouTube. Type in Benson Report. Go ahead and subscribe while you're there. You'll be contributing to everyone. Unlocking the next stock of the day. So Just Rod, if you missed it, just go to YouTube. It's right. It'll be there as soon as I jump off. It's recorded. It's actually live streamed, so you'll be able to see it. Do not worry. Yeah. If you want to figure out what this conversation was about, go to Benson Reports. If you are trying to say, hey, I just want to get started with this investing process, I need some help, go ahead and download Benson AI. We do a good job at what we do. And surely I can say you will, I'm pretty confident you are going to enjoy the process. I also hit you up to let you know, hey, what's going on? Do you need some help? It is on Apple only. It is on Apple only. But if you're not on Apple, you can go to the newsletter. We'll still send you the top 10 stocks each month. That's what I'll say there. Somebody said Noli. Noli said, what is it that you do? I do a lot of things. But I am the CEO of Benson AI. I've been running my company for about 5 years, and we built an AI app that does all of the investing for you, all automatically. So my background is that I'm an investor. I've invested over $8 billion over my career. So that's me. And I've done this all by the age of 30. I'm also on the that way Forbes 30 under 30 list. You can look my name up. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Outside of work, though, if you asking that, why don't you say so? I have a giant dog. I love walking my dog. I've been into tennis lately. On Sunday, I got a tennis lesson with one of my boys, so that's pretty exciting. What else do I do? What else do I do? I don't know. I do a lot of things outside of work, but mainly I'm an investing nerd. Um, so yeah, hope that answers your question, Oli. Um, Somebody asked, why is Webull necessary with the app? Quite simple. Webull has the best security. They have fractional shares. And above all else, they don't encourage you to gamble. You compare that to Robinhood. Robinhood really encourages you to gamble. And it sucks because people start thinking that investing is like gambling. Lots of reasons there. But outside of that, it's only like two major players that have fractional shares. If you wanted to buy full shares the entire time, your weekly budget would need to probably be like $1,000 per week. So, yeah, lots of reasons for it. Petra said, I'll be needing help with the setup. What I can say is I generally help most people out if they need it. So just go ahead and subscribe. And yeah, makes it a lot easier for me to help you out. We've been on for an hour, 54 minutes. Any final questions before I break? Steve Farco said, I know almost nothing about investing, but I have money inside of Robinhood. Can I switch? Steve Farco, that's a really good question. I'll answer this before I go. Steve Farco, you don't got to say the exact number, but give me a ballpark of how much money is inside of that Webull account. I mean, Robinhood account, not Webull account, because that is going to determine what you should do. And I'll give you my personal opinion. But Steve Farco, give me a ballpark. Is it, a few $100s, a few $1,000s? Steve Farco said it's $3,000. Good. One, great job for prioritizing investing. Steve Farco, what I would say is just leave that money there. Allow it to invest. Keep it. Do your thing. But what you should do is, especially if you're trying to use Benson, you are going to absolutely need to do a Webull account. I don't think it is worthwhile trying to send the money over to Webull because one is going to take about a week, and two, they're going to charge you $125. But in addition to that, I got like 6 brokerage accounts, no joke. I got a Charles Schwab, of course. I got a Webull. I got a Robinhood that I haven't touched in a few years. I got quite a few brokerage accounts. You don't need to have just one. The same way you can have a bank account with Bank of America and Chase, same deal. Mr. Tsunami said Benson AI is an app. Yes, it is, sir. Yes, it is. Have I missed any questions before I dip, y'all? Have I missed any questions? I am going to say I don't think so. So with that said, y'all, if you missed the live, jump on YouTube. The YouTube is Benson Reports. If you are trying to get going with investing, need some help, download Benson AI. That is what I would say there. So peace out, y'all. And let's get this. Oh, Steve Farco said, thank you. I look forward to learning with you. I appreciate that.